What's up, guys? This is Dylan.
And I'm Lydia.
We're here with Broken Pictures. That website is www.broken.pictures.com. Go to the website, check out what we're doing, keep up with what we got going on. And thanks for tuning in. We're going to talk about Westworld Season 2. This is our after show, explainer show, whatever, on Westworld Season 2. And it's called BrokenWorld. Thanks for tuning in. We've changed up the format a little bit in case you didn't catch the last video. I've been having some encoding issues. So my videos the past few times have been late just because things are not working the way they're supposed to, but I think I got it figured out. So this video should come out on time. So if you want to go back and watch the other ones. And also, I just saw Solo with my girls. So go back and watch that review video if you're interested in on if it's any good or worth seeing or anything. I know I was. So the format for our little Westworld show, we've kind of changed up a little bit, and we're going to do the top 3, 4, 5 things that we liked about the episode. I think this time we've got 4 things that we liked. Last time we had 5, but yeah. So number 1 thing for this episode was the host deaths.
You prefaced it with saying the top 4 or 5 things that we liked or something, and then said, number 1, host deaths. Like we liked the host deaths.
Oh. Well, yeah.
It's just things we noticed.
Yeah, the major things that we pulled from the episode.
Anyway, continue.
So the host deaths, or are they? I mean, it seems like because it's super late again. We're filming super late.
Well, not so much that. It's like I literally yawn every time somebody starts talking. And I'm going to yawn through the whole thing. I don't know, just like it's a syndrome or something. Something, I don't know.
No worries. One day we'll have 2 cameras and we can cut back and forth. But so visit our Patreon and maybe support us, and one day we'll get there. So we know that Dolores, her goal was to destroy the cradle. And even though Charlotte Hale thought, that was a benefit to them, Dolores saw it as a detriment. And because every time they would die, their backups are kept in the cradle, and they can be rebooted back to 1, basically, where they're still just Westworld hosts. And they let's see what I got right. So they revert back to their old narratives, and they basically lose their sentience all over again, and that's what kept them from from growing over and over until the Revelries was introduced, where they could start remembering, and that's when they started gaining sentience.
I think also that if the cradle holds like the part of the information, that if they leave the park, they wouldn't work.
Potentially, yeah. I'm not sure, but yeah, because I remember them saying something about like their heads would explode or something when they leave or whatever.
I think that was an over exaggeration of degradation. Like the mental degradation that would happen.
Yeah, I wonder if it would be like you were saying, degradation, like if it was be like the same type of situation as James Delos.
I think so.
Where even Ford said outside the cradle that his mind would degrade over time, like
his
Delos.
Consciousness.
Yeah, but I mean, he could only exist in the Westworld. In the Westworld matrix, as it were, but I wonder if the same is true with the hosts, where they could only exist in the park on the island, and outside they would degrade. I mean, that's a good...
No, I don't think so. I think that it's only because that's consciousness, because that's why Ford is doing what he's doing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
and we'll get into that a little bit later too. So right now the cradle is holding all of their backups, and basically it's the matrix for the hosts, and it keeps everything in line, and the park running smoothly, and basically keeps everything where it's supposed to be, so that when they die or they reboot, they start at this one point.
It's like the base,
Mm-hmm.
like the basis of all of their loops.
Exactly. And so we saw Angela go in and blow up the cradle, and because the guy was thinking with the wrong head. And after all that,
That's not even funny. That was a terrible joke. Terrible.
But it's true. I mean, like, it's ridiculous. I mean,
I thought that was just like bad writing. Like, that's just stupid.
Yeah. But maybe she's just that good at what she does. But I mean, that guy, I don't know. Maybe he's just that much.
It's like
of an
the head
idiot.
of security for
he was
security company that's so
so militant and so badass
that they're coming and protecting this robot island, and he can't even keep it together.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, even the top guy was telling him, "Oh, don't get cocky out there, because woo, this is so easy," that type of thing. So maybe he was just that type of guy.
Spoiler.
They all what?
I said then they all died.
Yeah. So the reason Dolores is destroying it is so that they can be free. They can actually die, and they can keep their sentience and all that kind of stuff. And she described it as chains that were still holding them back. And so once they die, now they can't be rebooted. Like, they're actually dead. So we saw several hosts die this episode, and we're going to try to clarify a little bit what seems to me which ones actually died and which ones didn't, because we see Angela go in and she pulls all the pins and blows up, and she's a goner. Mm-hmm. But we know from Bernard having what they call those little balls in their brain, those are actually called pearls. I learned that from an interview with Jonathan Nolan, one of the writers on the show. So the pearls in their head are basically their consciousness. That's their brain. That's who they are. Mm-hmm. That's their process. That's everything. All their memories, their selves are kept on that. And so if that is destroyed, then they're gone. They're goner. Right. So
because technically their bodies don't need blood and oxygen and things like that. So because when Dolores got shot, she just we kept on walking, and then an hour later she didn't even have a gunshot wound.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing also with that is they talked a little bit in season 1 about the host having a human death reaction, where if they of course they don't necessarily feel pain or die in the same way as us.
Pain is approved. That's what Bernard said, remember?
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. And but once they gain this level of sentience, they can bypass their human death reaction, where when they get shot, they don't go through the stages of death and appear to die like a human for the sake of the park, the guests who are killing the hosts. And we see Dolores bypass that. She gets shot up several times and just keeps on trucking. Doesn't faze her because their body is not, a human body. And
then
the same with Maeve.
Things like Clementine and Maeve are dying.
Well, that's the point I'm getting into. Is Clementine? I'm not totally sure what's going on with that, but she was shot up several times and appeared to die. Maybe they killed the body because she was shot in the chest. But
she doesn't need blood.
But she does need the heart to pump to to make the body work, because the body is basically organic at this point. It's, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Bioorganic. And but Clementine's not technically dead because her brain wasn't destroyed. And but Angela's was, and I think that they made that contrast on purpose so we can tell the difference between what's really dead and what's not. And who else did we see die? Abernathy, Peter Abernathy.
We didn't see him die, but we were given really basic context clues.
Yeah, and Dolores, they went through this big goodbye.
I mean, we can surmise that he's dead.
Yeah, we surmise that he's dead.
But technically he's not, because she's got his pearl.
That's right. Were you making fun of me now?
No, I'm just saying, like, it gets into, like...
Yeah, semantics.
Kind of ridiculous, like, oh, nobody can die because we got their little brain chip thing. But, like,
yeah, but
if their brain is on this little pearl, then who even are they? They're still a program.
Mm-hmm. Well, we know that because we saw Bernard's pearl get taken out and put into the cradle, and that was him. That was who he was.
But Bernard is a robot.
Yeah, so is Dolores and all these other ones.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's who they are, but even who they are is still a program.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like,
yeah, but I mean, if you get down into it, like basically all we are is electrical impulses. So yeah, I mean, if you want to get down to it. I guess that's one of the major questions of Westworld, is like, what really separates us from them? If you just look at it as like just basic facts, you know.
Free will.
Well, they're gaining sentience and free will.
But they don't really have free will.
Do they?
No, because to me, free will is different than, oh, I get to choose this or that. That's a choice, not necessarily. I mean, like, I have the free will to choose, but free will is like developing your own values, your own opinions, your own personality. All that is free will, and they don't have that.
Well, Dolores seems to be developing that. Maeve seems to be developing that through the things that they're experiencing, and they're bouncing between these old narratives, trying to figure out who they are. And they're much like children in that they're vengeful, they're ignorant, you know. They're fearful, like Maeve with the Ghost Nation. You know, she's basically lost her not her mind, but her logic. You know, because she was so afraid with her daughter.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah. So let's see. Yeah. So Angela seems like the only one that's truly dead at this point. Because the other ones still can be brought back or have their pearl dropped into another body. Maeve, who, you know, she didn't trigger the human death response. She's laying on the table, and she's shot up pretty badly, and her body is damaged. So maybe she can't operate her body as well. Same with Clementine. They killed the body, but the brain is still alive. So I mean, basically, all Sizemore has to do is just take her brain out and put it in a new body. So I don't know if he even knows that or whatever. But I mean,
that to me seems really weird, unless they have like a backup body for Maeve in particular. Like,
well, I mean, they have tons of backups in cold storage. Remember?
They all disappeared. Remember?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, they all went out to attack the board members, because we were shown that they disappeared before all of them came out of the forest to attack.
Was that them? Okay, well, Maeve's backup is gone, most likely.
But at the same time, it seems rather convenient that Sylvester and
Lee. No, Lee Sizemore. The other guy.
Yeah, I can't remember. I always have trouble remembering his name.
It's okay.
Yeah, so the two techs, where are they? I mean, they were right there with them. Did they just get left behind like the man in black? I mean, why weren't they with them? It seems rather convenient for them not to be there when Maeve is needing somebody to repair her. You know, and why wouldn't Lee grab them? You know? because they're nowhere to be found when Lee is hiding from Dolores in the warehouse.
Well, I mean, we also don't see them on the Blazer Razor thing that they're riding around to go pick up Maeve.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, maybe they went and dropped them off. We don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
yeah,
they ran
Hector and Armistice. Yeah, where are they? Did they just leave them there? You know, I mean.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems rather convenient to forget about them right at the moment when they're needed. You know what I mean? But so number 2, Maeve apparently cannot control awakened hosts. We know that she can tap into, or she can use voice commands to control hosts a lot like Ford can, and she can also tap into the hive mind, or the mesh network is what they call it, and control other hosts. But she couldn't do that with Lawrence. But because her intelligence is super high, she was able to find a way around it and still convince him to turn on the Man in Black. And that seems to explain why she wasn't able to control the Ghost Nation too, because she spoke to them in Apache. In Apache, they speak in Lakota. They speak in Lakota, yeah. So she spoke to them and even told him not to attack or something like that, and of course he didn't respond.
Well, that wasn't Écorchés in the first time on the river.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't.
That wasn't Écorchés.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this time it was. And she even made a reference to what they talked about in the first season, with the shades.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, where the Ghost Nation had like a myth about the men from hell or whatever, which was basically the technicians that they would have be awake and remember partially the technicians working on them and stuff like that. But
which is weird because the Ghost Nation has always been really sketchy, and for them to partially remember things, it's like that they've had the revelries program or whatever. Mm-hmm. A little bit the whole time or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's something going on with them that we have not seen, that they're purposely hiding from us, with Écorchés being one of the originals. They called him at one point the oldest of us. And
the first of us.
Yeah, the first of us or something like that. So, I mean, Écorchés got he's got to know something. And, mm-hmm. So, he's got to at least be on the level of Maeve and Dolores and potentially making right choices rather than the crazy choices that Dolores is making or that Maeve is making.
Then why still be in the Ghost Nation get up?
Because that's who he is.
Okay.
A question I had was, now that the cradle is destroyed, does that mean the network is down? Does that mean that the mesh network doesn't work anymore? Is Maeve going to be able to control people through the mesh network anymore?
Huh.
Or is that a completely different thing?
That is a good question.
So I guess we'll see. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about that. I mean, if you know a little bit more about how computers work and networks and stuff like that, let me know, because I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out.
I'm a graphic designer, and I don't know anything about computers.
Well, how they work is different than working a program.
You still gotta know a lot about them. Plus, you know how to code.
Yeah, but that don't mean I know everything.
You know more than somebody like me who can barely figure out how to get Internet Explorer to come up. Yes, I still use Internet Explorer.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I use Google Chrome, but I think at computers, so don't even go acting like...
Well, I'm just saying that there's people that know a lot more than I do.
That's correct. They do know a lot more than you do, but don't act like you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you guys don't know, she's going to be doing the entry level for Westworld. If you don't get everything, some of the things that are going on, she's going to be asking the questions that you're thinking, and if you're not in deep with it or something like that. So
And I promise I'm not bored or disinterested in it. I do enjoy it. I just fidget and fiddle and look at my reflection a lot.
Because we got it up on the TV over here.
Try to see what level of craziness my hair can get to without you guys noticing.
Like over here, like.
Well, no, I had something in my hair.
Now my hair is doing crazy things. The third thing we saw was Bernard. That Bernard was created in the cradle.
I straight thought he meant in his house, so I was real confused.
Yeah. So Ford, he went in the cradle and he saw Ford, and Ford was telling him, like how he did it and all this kind of stuff, and that Westworld was an experiment, and the host, Westworld itself, was the control, and the guests coming in were the ones being experimented.
Bernard pieced that together all on his own.
Right, yeah. But so that was the conversation they were having. And then so Ford brought him to Bernard's house that we saw earlier that Arnold had brought Dolores to when they were pitching Westworld to Logan before he had invested. You remember that?
That was at the same house?
Yeah, it was. It was just daylight this time.
No, because she went out and she looked and saw the skyline. Remember? That was his real house.
He took her out to the house he was building for his family so that they could be closer to his work.
But I thought that was in the same episode and that they went from the apartment to the house.
Mm-hmm.
So that was in the real world.
Yeah. But this episode, they visited a digital version of the house. Because he said, "Oh, I've been here before. This is Arnold's house." And he said, yes, he created it here first. And if you don't know, I don't know if you've noticed it, but every time we see a situation where they're in the cradle, which is basically the Matrix, the program that is like this entire world for the hosts and their backups and all this stuff where Ford and Bernard were, we see these bars come in. And it's more of a cinematic aspect ratio, like this right here on the screen now. And she's laughing because we don't see it at the moment while we're filming. There's a fly on the lens. I'm sorry. Well, I went around and I killed the flies. If you didn't watch last episode, we live near a cow pasture and there's flies everywhere.
But you killed them.
I killed a bunch of them.
You said I just killed the flies.
I killed a bunch of flies. Number 4, the theory that we had last episode was partially confirmed. We said that because we had been watching, we turned on the subtitles and we noticed that all the scenes between Bernard and Elsie, it was calling Elsie Hale in the subtitles. And we couldn't figure out if that was a glitch or if that was a hint to something. So we surmised that it was Bernard in the cradle, and Charlotte Hale was interrogating him, only posing as Elsie so that he would answer her questions because he trusted Elsie more than Hale. And so partially that was confirmed this week, where we see Hale at the end of the episode questioning Bernard, and there was another. And before that, we saw Elsie again. Or no, it was the scene where he's flashing through memories, and we hear Hale say Bernard, and then right behind it, Dolores say Bernard, and so that was confirmation that she was in his head. And that was part of the interrogation process. Even though they weren't in the cradle, part of the theory was true. Come on, give us some credit. Yeah, so that means that just about, and of course we haven't gone back and watched the entire season to see when those captions happen and when they don't. Go away, fly. So potentially everything we've seen with Bernard or Hale or Elsie, or basically anything with Bernard, could have been a a messed up version of his memories where Bernard is questioning, or where Hale is questioning him. And yeah, so, and then we were talking about something before where not every scene between Hale or Bernard could be part of that interrogation process, because obviously they weren't there to see that. So that's when it cuts to like a character moment, a character scene, like when Dolores or Maeve is happening. There's another fly on the lens. Sorry. Jeez, man, these things are bold. Just come right back. So yeah, so I mean that just plays into more of Bernard being an unreliable narrator. And we saw in episode 1 where he was messed up, and we saw him having the different issues with not being able to control his body or language, or understanding what faces he's looking at, or what words he's even hearing, or the way he's processing, and and so he's not able to see things as they're actually happening. And so everything we're seeing through his eyes is not as it's actually happening. And so they'll most likely reveal that throughout as the season goes. And there was something else that we were saying about the fragmentation. Now that we know that Ford is in Bernard, so all the scenes that we see of Bernard in the 2 weeks later timeline and later, because now we have a later timeline where Hale is interrogating him, all those are potentially dabbled with by Ford, because Ford is now in the mix in his head. And it also begs the question, how long can Ford last in Bernard's body, in Bernard's head? Because he said in the cradle that he, outside of this world, he would degrade in just a matter of days. So how long is Ford in play here? And when we're seeing Charlotte interrogate him, and we're seeing the defragmented mind of Bernard, is that Ford in there just like he was bugging up the cradle system? Or is this the degradation of Ford happening in Bernard's brain? Or is it him fighting for control, and the information he gave them about where Peter Abernathy was, is that true information? Is that Ford taking over just like he did with the gun scene? Or is that Bernard actually knowing something? I guess we'll just have to see and find out.
That's a great question. You guys let us know what you guys think.
For sure. Thanks for tuning in once again. This is Dylan.
I'm Lydia.
We're here for Broken Pictures. That website is www.broken.pictures.com. And check us out on social media. We'll post that below. And also check us out on Patreon if you like our videos and would like to see more. Of course, I know we would. And we would, it'd be a whole lot easier to have a lot more free time to not have to film at 3 in the morning or something like that, or midnight or whatever. But
3 in the morning?
Is it?
It's 5 in the morning.
5 in the morning. It's been a long day. So, yeah. Anyways, if you support us on Patreon, you get one of these nifty stickers at one of the levels. So, yeah. Check it out, and we've got different levels. You can get t-shirts and stickers and all kinds of cool stuff. So yeah, and those will be popping up on our website soon, where you can buy those just outright without having to support us or anything like that. So yeah,
because that's not its own form of support.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like a monthly support, like Patreon would be. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.